Welcome back, everybody, to the Road to 1,000 Users. I'm John Mello, the founder of PayHouse. We're an app development agency. I'm building apps for people. And kind of as a side project, I'm building a platform for Bubble freelancers to help them find work, scope the actual project, and then get paid. So as I'm doing that, I'm kind of developing this content around what it's like to be a Bubble freelancer, some of the problems that I run into. And what I want to talk about today is the problem of the current messaging around no code. I think what people are, or the no code platforms are leading with right now are speed, cost, and how easy it is to get started. And I think these three things, while are true to some extent, is problematic when your messaging is leading with these things: fast, easy, and cheap, right? Are these things true? It kind of depends on in comparison to what, first off. And I think the messaging is comparing, in a case like Bubble, it's comparing the, how you develop on an app on Bubble to traditional code. So in that sense, it is definitely faster to develop an app using Bubble as opposed to learning how to, learn three programming languages for, back end, front end, any integrations. Of course, that's going to be faster. The problem with when it comes to talking about it being fast, yes, it is faster than code. I think we can all agree that it's quicker to build an app on no code or on Bubble than it is to do it by traditional hand coding. This is true. Even traditional developers will agree with that. When we start talking about how fast you can do things, though, we get into kind of a bit of a sticky area, because on the one hand, if people are coming to Bubble, and I'm talking about founders now, people who don't have a technical background, and they're coming to Bubble expecting that they're going to build the app of their dreams in 2 weeks or in 3 months or whatever, they're going to have a hard time with that. We're not setting the right expectations for those people. There is a learning curve to Bubble that is often ignored. I think when people start hearing and getting excited about being able to build an app without hiring a developer. Now, first and foremost, I encourage people to learn a little bit about Bubble, to learn a little bit about technology and how apps work before they start building an app. Right? You have to have some understanding. You can't just hire a developer and expect that you're going to be a billionaire startup founder. It doesn't work that way. You're involved in this process, and the more that you know about the way that the app is being built, that will affect how you run your business and the decisions that you're making. So you should have some understanding. I also run Bubble bootcamps where I teach people how to use Bubble, and they're usually in doing that because they have an app idea that they're building out. And that is, and the number one reason that people won't stick with the course is because they came in with the mentality of this is going to be easy, right? So it sets up a bad expectation. And that's the first thing that I try to undo on day one in those classes. Like, you have to respect this learning curve. It's not going to happen immediately. If you put the time in, and it's a decent amount of time, depending on, again, what knowledge you come into the bootcamp with. If you have a technical background, or you have even some design experience or some database experience, these concepts are not going to be so new to you, right? You're going to have a kind of a basis to build on. You're not starting from nothing. If you have no technical background at all, like I did when I started working in Bubble, it's going to take you time to cultivate the fundamentals or the fundamental understanding of how applications work, how databases work, how APIs work. These are all things that take time. So again, going back to setting the right expectations with founders, people who are non-technical that have an app idea, if you're going to build this yourself, you have to be mindful of the learning curve. There is a learning curve to Bubble. It's a very, very powerful platform, and it's going to take time to understand how to build an app. Like, there's just no way around that. So make sure that you have that time dedicated. Where I think this messaging hurts Bubble agencies and freelancers is just because you can build the app fast, or build the app faster than you can with code, I should say, doesn't mean that all of the other things that go into app development go away. Coding and non-coding is just one component of your overall process of developing this app, getting feedback from users, changing on that feedback. There's still a lot that goes into it that's not just kind of the hands on the keyboard coding or no coding part. And what I think the expectation that it sets up incorrectly with prospective clients of no-code agencies and freelancers is that, again, this is going to be fast and this is going to be easy. And I'm not really going to have to do anything. I just kind of tell the developer what I want and then I get an app. No, it does not work that way. You need to be involved. So it's not, I think it's quicker. And now the parts that I think it is faster to do is to get to market, right? You can get to market with a very limited, small feature set. You can build that, see how people react to it, and then come back to the app and keep building. The iteration process is certainly faster, the iterating. But that initial launch, as people like to call it, I hate that word because it shouldn't really be a launch. You should be thinking about it. A launch is not an event. It'd be hypocritical for me to say that that's not the right message because that's what drew me in the first place. So that the fact that kind of the barrier of this is it's intimidating to build an app goes away with that messaging, and that's why I got started, and I've developed more and more skills over time in the technical space, and that's like really how it should be done. That barrier to entry is very low, right? With that leading with that message, and that's a good thing. So it is both. But I really think the shift, what I wanted to say kind of more about like it being cheap, I think being like it's a cheap alternative, then prospective clients of Bubble agencies and freelancers kind of, the expectation is that like, they're going to charge me way less than a regular developer would. Again, true, but what is less? There's really there's not an agreed upon rate for traditional developers. I mean, if you go to Upwork, they're all over the place, depending on where they are in the world. Cheaper compared to what? Like there's not exactly a standard hourly rate for a developer, freelance developer, much less a hourly rate for a freelance Bubble developer. So I don't know if cheap is the right messaging to lead with. What I think would help Bubble freelancers, Bubble agencies, Bubble itself, and people who are learning, who just want to learn Bubble, like non-technical founders, is the power that these platforms have. That specifically, particularly Bubble, but also the other no-code platforms as well. The power behind them. There is Bubble, especially, is a very extendable platform where you can add custom code to it. So if you do no code, you can really extend it to do whatever you want it to do. There's no limits, I would say. So the power and extendability of what you can do on a platform like Bubble, I think, is the leading message now that there is a user base, and getting more and more people involved and taking Bubble, like choosing and getting them to choose Bubble over a traditional development agency or traditional code. Is the barrier there is, can Bubble do this, right? And that's where I think the messaging should be around how powerful, extendable, and customizable you can make your application using Bubble. And I think that's a superior message. I think it sets the right expectations. And then when you get into it, you can see like, okay, if you're leading with that, then you can see what we can be more realistic about what the learning curve is, how long these timelines take, how to set a timeline to build an application. You can get into the other things like this is faster, this is cheaper, and then this is, probably the right solution for a non-technical founder. But that's where I would start the conversation. That's how I start the conversation when I'm talking with, clients and people who are looking to learn Bubble, is kind of undoing that. Like, this is going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. There's still quite a bit of effort involved in this. But if you're dedicated, if it's a long-term goal for you to develop an app and develop a company that you want to work with in the long term, then this is absolutely the way to go. There's no question about it. it's going to take you, if you were learning traditional code, it would take you 5 years to even build a skill set that would enable you to, that would enable you to build something that you can put in front of people. With Bubble, you could learn something in 6 months, or not even. You could learn something in a few weeks, put it out in front of people, and have them start reacting to it. But tempering your expectations about what you're going to deliver in those 6 weeks, that's where the gap is, and I think, in the current messaging and understanding. So as I mentioned, I'm also building an app for Bubble freelancers to be able to find clients, scope work, and get paid. I'm tracking my progress on these metrics on building this app. Same as last week. Not a lot of progress from last week. 46 users. I did work through a couple of pieces of feedback. One notable one is that I added category to the list of prospective clients. Right. So the type of app. Right. These are all prospective clients who are looking to build an app on Bubble. And there you can see that there's over 2,000 prospects in here, and I've started tracking the type of app that people want to build here, which is helpful for freelancers to know. On Mom Test is where I speak with a freelancer, usually in a different country, and try to get at their pain points. 31 people across about 15 countries now, right? All of these around here, and then 58 Twitch followers. If you're a Bubble freelancer, I'd love to get a chat around what are some of the pain points that you have as a Bubble freelancer, and build this platform kind of around your pain points. All right, so join me every Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time on twitch.tv/bubblehack. I'll catch you next week.